In this video, we're going to be learning about the WHMIS system. WHMIS is an acronym that stands for the Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System. WHMIS is a method of informing both workers and high school science students the dangers of particular chemical substances, all of which can be misused and can have disastrous results. So the key component of the WHMIS system is a series of warning labels that are designed to identify when a substance is dangerous and to give workers the knowledge they need in order to avoid misusing each of these substances and potentially causing themselves a lot of harm. So the first of these warning symbols is a gas canister, which indicates the presence of gas that is stored under a high pressure. The best two examples of these are the propane tanks that are used to fuel outdoor barbecues and oxygen tanks that are used to supply hospital patients with oxygen that they need for treatment. Compressed gas is dangerous because of the high pressure. Each of these containers can explode if enough heat is added to the container, but also because the temperature inside is kept deliberately low, any leaks to these containers can cause frostbite to skin that is exposed to them. Probably the easiest symbol to identify is what we call the flammable symbol, which not surprisingly indicates that the substance will burn very easily when a spark is triggered or when a high temperature is added. Not surprisingly, gasoline used to power your car and butane, which is a chemical used in cigarette lighter fluid, are some very obvious examples of flammable compounds. Closely related are what we call oxidizing materials. Oxidizing materials undergo a chemical reaction that produces oxygen gas, and oxygen, as we know, is one of the chemicals that is needed in order to start a fire. And because many of these oxidizing reactions also produce a very large amount of heat, the oxygen that is produced either burns or explodes. And probably the best example of an oxidizing material is one of the compounds used in gunpowder. The symbol below is recognized with a test tube pouring a liquid which is eating away at a piece of metal and a human hand. When you see this symbol, the chemical that you're dealing with is dangerously corrosive, meaning that it can burn or eat through the surface of objects, but more importantly, through living tissue like human skin. Probably the best example of corrosive compounds are strongly concentrated acids, and the opposite of acids are bases, are very dangerous as well. Not surprisingly, this symbol that shows an explosion indicates that you are dealing with a chemical that will explode very, very easily, either when heated or shaken violently, but even sometimes when added to water. One of the best examples of this is dynamite, which is specifically used in demolitions, but also there are certain types of very reactive metals like sodium and potassium that explode very violently when added to water. A very old warning symbol is the skull and crossbones, which indicates that you're dealing with a poisonous substance. The other term that is used rather than poisonous is what we call acute toxicity. Now, from toxicity, we can see the word toxic, and the word acute means that when you are exposed to a poisonous substance, the substance is either going to cause harm or even death very, very shortly after being eaten, inhaled, or exposed to on the skin. Sometimes this will take a few minutes, other times you're dead within seconds if exposed to these. In terms of common household products that are poisonous, most bleaches that are used for industrial strength cleaning, specifically ones that contain ammonia, are highly poisonous, and pesticides that are used on farms to kill bugs and weeds are also very poisonous to human consumption. The exclamation mark indicates the presence of an irritant, which may be poisonous on their own, but under circumstances where you get them on your skin or close to your eyes, they cause the skin to become sore and red and may cause allergic reactions on the skin. Oftentimes, these are very dangerous when consumed, but the main danger is to avoid any skin contact. A lot of plant poisons, such as that in poison ivy and pepper spray, which is used for crowd control in protest, are examples of irritant compounds. This is a new symbol which indicates the presence of a health hazard, and the other word that is used in place of the health hazard is what we call chronic toxicity. So here we see the word toxic being used again. So whereas poisons are acute toxicity where the substance causes harm almost immediately, health hazards cause damage over a much longer term. Many of these compounds are known to cause cancer, birth defects, or even mutations at the level of your DNA. One of the best known examples of this is this liquid metal, which is what we call mercury, which belongs to a family of metals called heavy metals. Many pollutants that are released through industrial production are also very, very dangerous health hazards. The symbol below is probably well known to everyone in the world at this point. This is what we call the biohazard symbol, which indicates the presence of organisms, that being substances that are alive or close to living, that can cause very serious diseases or produce potentially lethal toxins. And these fall into four broad categories, that being bacteria, viruses like COVID-19, fungi, and parasites. And the final warning label that we don't actually see in Canada, but perhaps we should see more of, are substances that can cause environmental damage. That being substances where the main worry is not the damage that they can do to individual organisms, but to the environment overall. And a lot of these times, not only is this substance dangerous to living things, but it's also very, very difficult to remove from the ecosystem, and therefore can cause damage over multiple generations. And pesticides and pollutants released by industry are very well-known examples of this. So why do you need to know this as a science student? Well, very often the compounds that we're working with, especially in chemistry labs, will come with one or more of these WHMIS symbols. So before working with a potentially harmful compound, it's important that not only do you recognize what the danger is, but most compounds with a WHMIS symbol will also come with a warning label which covers how to safely handle and how to safely use any of the compounds that you come in contact with. So the sooner that we as science students and potential scientists become familiar with each of the symbols, the more safe we will be when we actually get to experimenting.